You thought Lewis Hamilton's biggest critics were rival drivers, or bitter ex-team bosses, or maybe even the British tabloids. But what if I told you? One of the latest to call him out isn't even talking about his driving. Instead, Guenther Steiner, yes, the straight-talking former Haas boss, says Hamilton's biggest problem right now is his attitude. And here's the twist. Steiner isn't saying Lewis has lost his speed. He's not calling him overrated. In fact, he still says Hamilton is one of the best in the world. But in Steiner's eyes, the way Lewis talks about himself after a bad weekend, that's what's holding him back. Not the car, not Ferrari, not even Leclerc. This could change everything, because if Steiner's right, Hamilton's comeback isn't about finding tenths on the track. It's about fixing something inside his own head. Let's set the scene. Belgium GP, sprint qualifying, spin in SQ1. Grand Prix qualifying, fastest lap deleted for track limits. Hamilton's own verdict. Unacceptable to be out in both Q1s. Very poor performance from myself. Hungary GP, out in Q2. Starts P12. Meanwhile, Charles Leclerc sticks it on pole in the other Ferrari. After qualifying, Hamilton drops the line that shakes the paddock.
Yeah, useless. Absolutely useless.
Any answers anywhere? I mean, this car, they're trying to get this car in a better position for you.
Team has no problem. You've seen the car's on pole, so they probably need to change driver.
Fans rush to defend him online. They call it honesty, vulnerability, a sign that he cares. But Steiner, not impressed. On the Red Flags podcast, he fires back. How can you come out as a 7-time world champion and say, I'm useless? That's the wrong attitude. It's an attitude that makes people feel sorry for you. And he's not talking about the lap times. Steiner admits, I'm not going into his performance. We all struggle, but giving up, I don't like that. Instead, his advice is simple. Stop beating yourself up in public. Focus on what you're good at, driving, because that's still there. Here's why this matters more than just one bad weekend. Hamilton isn't just any driver. He's the face of Ferrari's new era. The signing meant to bring the prancing horse back to championship glory. But right now, the stats are brutal. 6th in the driver's standings. No podiums in red. 42 points behind Leclerc. Every public comment gets magnified. Every moment of self-doubt becomes a headline. And in a championship fight this close between Ferrari, McLaren, and Mercedes, the mental game is as important as the lap times. That's the real battle. Not just Hamilton versus the stopwatch, but Hamilton versus himself. On one hand, you have the perfectionist, the man who can't accept anything less than excellence. On the other, you have the leader Ferrari needs him to be. Confident, unshakable, inspiring. Right now, those two sides are colliding, and it's spilling out in front of the world. Let's not forget what's at stake. This is Lewis Hamilton, the driver with the most wins, poles, and podiums in F1 history, 7 world championships, and the last man to take the fight to the greatest dynasties the sport has ever seen. But legacies are fragile. They aren't defined just by numbers. They're shaped by the final chapters. For Schumacher, those final chapters didn't add more titles, but they did cement his status as a relentless fighter. For Hamilton, the question is clear. Does this Ferrari chapter become a redemption arc, or the story of a legend who stayed too long? Here's the hard truth. Hamilton's path to an 8th title in 2025 is almost gone. The SF25 isn't the best car. McLaren is flying, Mercedes is closing in, and Red Bull, even with their own chaos, still has the edge. To turn this around, Hamilton doesn't just need upgrades, he needs belief. Because if the driver starts doubting himself publicly, the whole team feels it. So what do you think? Is Guenther Steiner being unfair to a champion showing human emotion, or is he right? And Lewis needs to stop the self-criticism before it becomes self-destruction? You thought Hamilton's words were a cry for retirement, a farewell, a final lap, a legend stepping down. But what if he was testing us? What if the real message wasn't, I'm done, but do you still believe in me? Because as the critics circle and the new generation rises, Lewis isn't waving the white flag. He's still in the fight. And here's why this might change everything. He said it himself. I'm not where I want to be yet, but the fight's not over. Don't count me out. It wasn't just a quote, it was a warning. To fans, to Ferrari, to Formula One. And while the headlines scream retirement, he's quietly preparing for revenge. Let's break down what really happened. Hungary, Q2 elimination, P12 on the grid. Leclerc on pole, Belgium, out in SQ1. His final flyer, a spin, his first lap, deleted for track limits. 3 bad Saturdays, 0 points on Sunday. One brutal quote, I'm useless, absolutely useless. They probably need to change driver. The world jumped to conclusions. But then he posted, I look forward to coming back. Hopefully I will be back. And just 24 hours later, he shut it all down. Don't count me out. So number, this is not a man walking away. This is a man stuck in transition. Because while Hamilton fights his demons, Ferrari is fighting for its future. They sit second in the Constructors' Championship, but McLaren is flying, Red Bull is reloading, and Mercedes is hunting consistency. Every point matters, and right now, only one Ferrari driver is delivering. Leclerc has all 5 of Ferrari's podiums. Hamilton, none. Not even a top 5 in a Grand Prix. And in this high-stakes title war, no team can afford a passenger. So here's the real battle. Not Hamilton versus Leclerc, not Hamilton versus Ferrari. It's Hamilton versus time. He's 40. He's adjusting to a new team, to a new car philosophy, to a driving style that no longer fits like a glove. The SF25 isn't just difficult, it's cold. It doesn't speak his language. And yet, he stays, he fights, he refuses to give up. But how long can he keep this up before someone younger, faster, cheaper takes the seat? Let's not forget who we're talking about. 7 world championships, most wins in F1 history, most podiums, most poles, and now the most doubted driver on the grid. But isn't that where legends are born? Lewis Hamilton didn't dominate because it was easy. He dominated because he could adapt, because he could rise when everything fell apart, because he transcended the car. Now, he's being tested like never before. This isn't the fall, it might be the foundation of something greater. But let's be honest. Ralf Schumacher said what many insiders are thinking, the level is still good. But is it as good as it used to be? Nobody knows. And teams now have options. Behrman, Hajar, Antonelli, Bortoleto, even Lindblad and Dunn are knocking on the door. They're young, fast, cheap, moldable. And if you're a team boss with an eye on the future, would you gamble on a legend or invest in the next one? Hamilton's contract is strong, but contract don't drive cars. So now we ask, is this Hamilton's final stand? Or is this the prologue to the greatest redemption arc in F1 history? Can a 40-year-old rewrite the script? Or will Formula One move on before the ink dries? Has the fire gone cold? Or is it just waiting for the right moment to explode again? You thought Bernie Ecclestone was done making headlines, that the man who once ruled Formula One had retired into quiet luxury. But what if I told you his latest shot might be one of the coldest things ever said about Lewis Hamilton? Not from a rival, not from a fan, but from someone who has seen every champion rise and fall. Because when Ecclestone was asked about a rumor involving Christian Horner and Alpine, he turned it into a punchline at Hamilton's expense. And here's why this could change everything. Ecclestone didn't just doubt the rumor, he set the odds. And in his book, Hamilton winning an 8th title is less likely than him buying into Alpine. That's brutal, but also telling, because even in that burn, Ecclestone admitted one thing: Hamilton is still super talented. And when a man like Bernie says that, it means there's still a game to be played. Let's rewind to how we got here. Christian Horner, Red Bull boss for over 20 years, gone, replaced by Laurent Mekies. Exit immediate. Rumors everywhere. Horner linked to Ferrari and Alpine. Planet F1 even reported Ferrari had approached him earlier in the year. At the Hungarian Grand Prix, Ecclestone, longtime friend of Horner, was asked, could Horner come back to F1? Bernie's answer, probably doesn't want to, unless he gets someone to buy a team. I can't see it happening. That set the stage for the big question. Could Bernie and Horner together buy into Alpine? Ecclestone's grin said it all. More chance of Lewis winning his 8th title than that happening. Ouch. Now remember, this jab came at a moment when Hamilton's form was under the microscope. Belgium, spin in SQ1, track limits penalty in Q1, Hungary, out in Q2, qualified P12, Leclerc on pole. Hamilton's own words, "I'm useless, absolutely useless. They probably need to change driver." He finished the Grand Prix where he started, no overtakes. And after the race, hints of problems in the background at Ferrari that are not great. To make it juicier, Hamilton posted a cryptic August 8th teaser. "We've struck the match. Now follow the smoke." Fans went wild. Retirement rumors hit overdrive. But here's the thing. This isn't just about Hamilton's bad run. This is about his place in history. Because in 2025, the gap between him and Leclerc is 42 points in the Drivers' Championship. Ferrari sits in a knife fight for position with McLaren, Mercedes, and Red Bull. Every weekend counts, and every race Hamilton struggles. The pressure on Ferrari's long-term plan gets heavier, because 2026 isn't just another season. It's the first year of a new regulation era. If you're Ferrari, do you bet it all on a 40-year-old legend? Or do you hand the keys to the next generation? And that's the war going on right now. Not just on track, but in the paddock. Hamilton versus time. Ferrari versus uncertainty. Bernie versus subtlety. Ecclestone says Hamilton is still super talented, but also suggests he should move over a little bit. Translation? You've done enough. Don't risk going out the wrong way. That's the sting. Because for Hamilton, moving over has never been part of the vocabulary. Let's put it in perspective. Hamilton isn't just a driver. He's the statistical GOAT. Most wins, most poles, most podiums, 7 world championships, and chasing that 8th, something no one has ever done. But legacies in F1 aren't frozen in time. They evolve. They get tested, and sometimes they get rewritten in the final chapters. Schumacher went through it. Alonso is still living it. Now it's Hamilton's turn to prove that greatness doesn't fade. It adapts. The truth? Ecclestone's odds aren't just banter. They reflect the brutal reality of modern F1. The SF25 isn't the fastest car. Ferrari's culture is still fragile. McLaren is rising. Mercedes is regrouping. And Red Bull is Red Bull. To win an 8th title, Hamilton needs more than pace. He needs a perfect storm. Right now, the clouds aren't lining up, and the clock isn't slowing down. So, is Bernie right? Is Hamilton's 8th title truly less likely than a billionaire takeover of Alpine? Or will this become another moment we look back on and laugh, when the man everyone doubted rewrote the ending? You thought Lewis Hamilton's move to Ferrari was going to be the fairy tale ending. You thought it would be about victories, champagne showers, and maybe even that elusive 8th title. But what if I told you, 5 months into the season, there's been no fairy tale at all? And the biggest critic of Lewis Hamilton right now is Lewis Hamilton himself. Here's the silver lining. According to Jamie Chadwick and Fred Vasseur, this isn't about Lewis losing motivation. It's about frustration, pure, burning, competitive frustration. And in their view, that frustration could be the spark that reignites his season. Because when Hamilton channels it the right way, history has shown he can turn droughts into dominance. Let's rewind. Hamilton's shock move to Ferrari was announced before the first race of last year's championship. It stunned the motorsport world. It was marketed as the ultimate dream pairing, the greatest driver of his generation in the most iconic team in Formula One. The hype was real. Pundits talked about Ferrari challenging for titles. Fans imagined Monza roars and championship parades. But reality has been far harsher. So far, Ferrari hasn't won a single Grand Prix in 2025. Hamilton hasn't stepped on the podium in red. His only taste of victory came in Shanghai, and that was in the sprint, not the main event. Even that win was followed by him snapping at yapping critics who, in his words, were making uneducated guesses about what he was going through. Fast forward to Belgium, back-to-back Q1 eliminations, a spin in SQ1, a fastest lap deleted for track limits. Hamilton's verdict? Unacceptable. Very poor performance from myself. Then came Hungary, another early qualifying exit. Meanwhile, Charles Leclerc put his Ferrari on pole. Hamilton, furious, said, I'm useless, absolutely useless. They probably need to change driver. That last comment lit up the paddock. Bernie Ecclestone suggested retirement. Guenther Steiner called it the wrong attitude. But Jamie Chadwick saw it differently. She told the Sky F1 podcast, "It's definitely not the fairy tale we were all hoping for. It's frustration, not a lack of motivation. He's there to win an 8th title, and when that slips away, even for a weekend, it hits hard." She even revealed that in Hungary, Hamilton was told by lap 7 to lift more to manage overheating, robbing him of any chance to attack. For a driver already having a tough weekend, that's the final straw. Here's why this goes beyond just a couple of bad Saturdays. Ferrari's entire 2025 campaign was built on Hamilton's arrival. Sponsors, fans, and even rivals expected them to fight for wins. Instead, McLaren has surged ahead. Mercedes has clawed back ground. And Red Bull, despite its own internal chaos, remains the benchmark. The gap isn't just on the track, it's psychological. Every time Hamilton publicly doubts himself, it becomes a headline. Every headline feeds the narrative that the Ferrari-Hamilton dream might be dying before it even truly begins. That's the core of this story, the mental battle. On one side, Hamilton the perfectionist, the man who built his career on relentless self-criticism, always pushing for more. On the other, Hamilton the leader, the icon Ferrari needs to believe, to inspire, to keep the garage united under pressure. Right now, those two sides are clashing, and the cameras are catching every moment. Let's be clear, Lewis Hamilton's legacy is already written in gold. 7 world titles, the most wins, poles, and podiums in history, and a career defined by comebacks against impossible odds. But this Ferrari chapter matters, because it's not just about another trophy, it's about proving that a legend can rewrite history even at 40 years old, in a new team, with a new car. If he succeeds, it's the perfect Hollywood ending. If he fails, it risks becoming the story of a champion who switched too late. The hard truth? An 8th title this year is almost gone. He's 6th in the standings, 42 points behind Leclerc. Ferrari still hasn't found the pace to match McLaren or Red Bull over a full race distance. Vasseur insists Hamilton's just frustrated, not demotivated, and that we're all pushing in the same direction. But frustration can go 2 ways. It can fuel a comeback, or it can eat away at belief. So here's the question. Is this just the painful middle act before Hamilton and Ferrari rise together? Or are we watching the slow fade of a dream that was never meant to be?